Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between and all over the world, welcome to the first finals game of 2024 EUCF. It's a packed slate we've got for you today. We've had some bronze medal matchups already, but now is the big kahuna, the grand prize, and two teams locked in battle for it. We've got Tiefseetaucher coming to us from Munich, a long-standing club team well known in the city but unknown outside of it, a combination of MUC and Woodchicas that has run rampant, undefeated internationally. This season, they did lose at German nationals. Going up against Deep Space, reigning UK and European champions, and more than that, fighting champions. It promises to be an epic battle with matchups of veteran players who know each other well, young stars looking to make their names, and two commentators holding on for dear life. I am Lorca Murray. I am joined by the one, the only, the wonderful Hannah Pendlebury. Hannah, how are you feeling this morning?
Oh, I'm feeling so ready to uncork our first of the three finals, Lorcan. We've got the faint aroma of Red Bull, but no sense of regrets, which is unusual for that particular aroma. In terms of the journey through here, of course, both of these teams, it is chalk. We have the 1 and 2 seeds meeting in the final, as they should, neither being toppled in the pool stages, getting that bye round, so the same number of games on the slate. In terms of the goal differences, actually at the moment, Deep Space have that one advantage over Tiefseetaucher, and they were saying yesterday they didn't really much like the idea of having this Tiefseetaucher unbroken record, only internationally, as you already caveated, Lorcan, but they have put together quite performances. Both teams having only defeated Reading Ultimate on Universe, which is a very interesting dynamic, but certainly a lot of talent. Hopefully we'll see the full force of Torben Holschemeyer today, who of course had an injury earlier on in the championship, came off the pitch, but then has been appearing with perhaps a slightly reduced workload. So both teams just this one game to focus on this morning. Hopefully we can see the best of them. Of course, Holschemeyer, a big part of that World Games set for Team Germany way back when. But actually, I think probably Tiefseetaucher's strength is their female matching athletes. Linnea Siebert, for example, absolutely fantastic, as well as on the higher number of the roster side of things, Sophie Ostoscher, absolutely diamond in their previous live stream performance.
Saskia Beek as well, another player to watch out for, but they're going to have their hands full. Speaking to the teams beforehand, they know each other well, they know their matchups, they've targeted them. It's a different thing drawing it up on paper and going out there on the pitch. I mean, Layla Denniston, an absolute force and machine right in the engine room of that Deep Space offense as she plays in the center, in and out, the glue that keeps them going. That's not an easy assignment. You can recognize that you need to try and limit their impact on the game. That's different to actually pulling it off. But these are two teams well acquainted with each other and well acquainted with the highest level of competition in Europe. Tiefseetaucher actually bracketing their entire season. Their first game of the season was in Spring Invite in Padova, where they beat Deep Space 15-13. But talking before the game, to the deep space coach Nathan Faber-Burrough. He spoke about how we learned a lot from that, not so much in the specifics, but in a foundational sense, how it shapes them as they go forward. Well, we'll see what shapes they throw out here in their first defensive point. TST, the deep sea divers, looking to climb high today. Centered immediately. Holzer, you know he's going to be right at the front of that offense. Beak immediately under, launches deep. Here comes the help defense. It's just enough to knock it away. And an early turn straight away for deep space. Fantastic covering speed by Phil Sandwell.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a delayed birthday present for Mr. Sandwell, who notched one extra on his passport age yesterday.
Hill, back across to Sandwell. Tate clears. Be a big target downfield, back cross to Hill. Excellent inside break. Well taken on the opposite side. Sarah Hulkyard. Down the line and another leading pass for the early break. Tate lays out full extension. Kovshov with the assist. Deep space break, 1-0.
And do so very swiftly indeed. We'll talk about a quick counter-attack. Tate, of course, hailing originally from Glasgow Ultimates program, attended in the World Championship level back in 2018 when he was a wee burn. Coming from the north, of course, now relocating to the south, playing a little bit of a fill-in role because, of course, Axel Amala, who was huge for deep space in their championship win last season in Wrocław, has left the big man job open, and Tate has filled it in. Had a little bit of an Achilles injury, lower leg issues coming into the championship, so really great to see him able to fly full form because he's a big old weapon for space.
I think the real key throw in that offensive set for deep space came from Georgie Hill. It was the brilliant inside flick break across to Sarah Hulkyard that really unlocked their move down the break side. So deep space, deep roster and skills throughout it. A dream start for the reigning champions.
Indeed, and they've picked up many of the GB women's program in terms of this season's female matching roster, which has caused some waves, but it's worked out dreamily.
Lorenzo Pavin. Just a little bit of a knock from Rowe, but able to get it to Holzer. Now Holzer, the screams from the sideline. Hucker, they know the cannon that he wields. Thrown back around. Beak into Holzer in the center. Holzer across to Pavans. Right now it's Pavan and Holzer and Beak. Down the line comfortably to Maya, getting involved. Hunchmeyer wants to lead Holzer, points where he needs him, floats it out into space. Holzer right outside the end zone, isolation cut, very well shut down. Rowe going to war right now with Pavan, and look, there's only so long you can fight against the sea.
Well, a little bit of a chat between Rowe and Pavan, saying that you can't sort of like monster walk your way around the end zone.
How else is Pavan supposed to walk? He's a monster.
Well, that, of course, relates to anyone who has been required to do this weird exercise in the gym as part of their S&C. You put a sort of resistance band around your knees and you kind of do this strange kind of stomping back and forth. It's a great way to improve all of the ligamentures, all those stabilization joints around those, of course, very important of all joints for ultimate players. But, of course, Pavan is one of the big matchups, so I know that Rose's assignment is likely to just be to push Pavan to take as many steps on the pitch as humanly possible, try and tire him out, wear him out, because that Italian import is a big, big part of this squad.
And we do have to write something of a retraction as well. We were saying, oh, he just picked up with him, he's just a random pickup. He isn't a random pickup. He does spend an awful lot of time in the city of Munich. He is partnered with Sofia Marrero, so I made that transfer over from Padova on the open side to play in the mixed division.
And to be fair, Munich is a really lovely city to visit.
Maiden. Disc in hand, and you know Tiefseetaucher trying to pick their correct matchups as well. So very interested to see who they put on Dennison, who they put on Naden, and who they put on that man himself, Max Squires. Leading pass, absolutely perfect. It is not. I have to put those words right back in my mouth. It looked pretty, but it wasn't effective. Hornschmeyer pulling a little bit of double duty there. Came on for the second 0 point, now sticking out there. Gavin centers into the middle, looks to get the pop right back, and there you see the experience. They play with each other for so long. Break, right, back everybody, and TST back on serve.
Well, you called the throw from Squires perfection. That was absolutely on the money. Every cent, every euro, every pound, whichever your currency of choice. That was absolutely gorgeous. A disc that only Justin Wallace could attack. Squires, of course, a great player, not without controversy. It's actually banned from ever playing in the Canadian Ultimate Championships after a flashier performance with Hound. You'll have to look into the archives of r/Ultimate to find out more about what that one is. But certainly a great addition to this roster, was part of that elite invite core of young'uns back in Bern 2 seasons ago. But burning down the sideline to grab that one, Wallace, with the neon cleats and some serious feats.
Wallace has been very, very impressive for the D-line offense, picking up a lot of scores in the quarters and semi-finals, just making himself available for handlers who are just desperate to get it into the end zone. And like you say, that throw right on the Deutsch mark, just showing our age a little bit. TST, so after an initial stumble, they stand up and they charge right back at the reigning champions. And you were talking about literally getting carted off the field on Friday. Torben Hornschmeyer now playing his 3rd point in a row.
Clearly it's just some tactical resting, you know?
And taking the assignment of Elliot Cook as Nate putting in some work, going up against Glocker. Down the line, deep space, looking to try and get it in. Oh, sorry, back swinging across to the form of Hulkyard. And a layout block, or maybe a tumble block, but it's going to come back for a call.
Well, Tobias Bork, could he still have made that play without making any contact? I think there was a little bit of aftershock on the hip.
And just while they discuss it, I'm going to go with another retraction. I was surprised. I was thinking, why is Naden handling? No, that's Caudron. I was reading a 5 as a 6. And I didn't trust my own ability to recognize people's faces. So I apologize. Ruth Caudron, though, a huge matchup that I know you know at home as well. TST have locked in on and recognized we need to put some of our best defenders. Miro Glocker picking up the assignment right now. And that is going to be a retracted call and a turnover. Big time block for TST.
Well, Daniel Wilson, one of 2 Wilson brothers on the UK Ultimate scene, both extraordinarily rapid individuals, but gets bested by Bork.
And a 1-6.
Oh, they love it. They do it all the time.
I've seen a lot of 1-6 this weekend. Hornschmeyer looking, Wallace, the shimmy and the shake for the under. Needs to find some targets somewhere. Hornschmeyer doesn't want those passes to the break side, waiting for someone to come to the open. Eventually he is obliged in the form of Ketnaka. And a quick pop into Hornschmeyer. He calls for the open side again. It's Wallace. As you can see, Glocker being forced deep by Caudron, so they swing across to the opposite side. Once again, Elias Ketnaka tries to lead Jordan Hornschmeyer. Looked like the wind was going to carry that one away from him. Able to correct just in time. I assume there's going to be a call from Denniston. Just kind of lying and looking right now.
Well, it looked like there was bodily separation everywhere but the feet when you saw Nora Paul race away towards that far sideline. I have to say, Deep Space are playing some excellent person coverage. They're really denying the undershots, especially for the female matching athletes. They're not looking to give any freebies away. They're trying to challenge Tiefseetaucher and say, all right, then let's see if you can actually throw it deep of us perfectly, like you did to Wallace, because those shots are not always going to be quite so clean.
I find it a very interesting defensive strategy because, like you say, they are shutting down the female matching players for TST right now by forcing them into the deep space. Saw Caudron doing it to Glocker. See Denniston doing a fantastic job on pole.
Well, they also
going to be a retracted call, actually.
Yes.
So
they also have quite a deep stack a lot of the time.
That's nothing with the 1-6. Hornschmeyer going back to pole. Happy to lose yards as long as they retain possession. Wallace screaming for it in the open side. And now they're able to hit the break side. Can they continue down the line? Yes, they can. Ketnaka Glocka, just outside of her extended fingers. And Cauldron is off to the races. Really expected that hook to go. It goes on the third chance. And cooked to perfection. Cauldron all the way down the chase and assist. Quick pop to one of the most difficult matchups in the division, Alvaro Itermendi.
Hesitation makes the miscue for Tiefseetaucher. I don't really love that for them. It's kind of that weird effect of having been pushed all the way to the break side, really having to make the disc do the hard work. But I'm really enjoying some of the aggressive marks. They're really stepping off. A lot of teams will try and generate turnovers and get up in the face of the throwers. And at elite level, that just does not work. A little bit of arm barring as well that's been going on as these players are trying to like hustle free in the near space to the disc. I mean, it looked a little bit like Hook was just trying to give Honschmeyer a giant cuddle at points.
Which, is it wrapping, is it not? What it was certainly there was effective. Their ability to stop initial looks to the break side, it was mainly hard running that eventually, and a swing around rather than any of the inside flick breaks that we know they like to throw, or just like little over the tops. Excellent work on the forces. Brilliant response by the deep space O-line to not give up a second break. So here comes the deep space D-line. These are two squads who will use the full extension of their rosters. Well built and well acquainted with each other. Holzer with the disc. Absolutely acres of space. Wassenreich sends it back to Holzer. But it's a big step off from Georgie Hill into the lane. There's the quick pop, goes back to Holzer. Holzer sends it down the line. Pavan launches, wasting no time. He wants Beak. And he gets her. 3-2.
Get your Bic wet. I mean, Sarah Hill did everything in her possibility, just did not quite find the magical spot in the end zone to clutch that disc. Slight height mismatch as well. Bake just that extra tiny stature over the top, but also such a veteran of the sport, whereas Hill's still relatively young in her career. I think she's on her second cap for GB Women in Australia this season. Of course, a little bit more winning happening here in Oostende.
Georgie Hill coming from Warwick originally, a real hotbed of mixed ability. As you see there, how many times have we seen Lorenzo Pavan cut under, turn around, and just immediately take on that shot?
I mean, that's the level you're going to get at this stage at a European Championship final, throwing from static, like it ain't no thing. Of course, Hill will surely be having the Hill contingent. This is the niece of Mr. UKU, Cy Hill. So lots of pride. Of course, neither of the younger Hills, Sam or Emily, at this tournament. Emily nearly made it. I think she's still playing with Smog women who declined their spots to European Championship finals this year because of people falling in love, Lorcan, and getting married.
I mean, it's a sham. Why would you do that? It's just a race to lose half your stuff. Coming to EUCF, I mean. You should fall in love and get married. As there's the center to the middle of the pitch, Max Squires throws it across. That's Rachel Nader. Winds up and unleashes it. Chase down, really great hands. Baker looks to spread it opposite width in the air. Remy trying to close the gap, can't get there in time, and Daniel Wilson ties the game back up, 3-3.
Female matching athlete excellence coming out of deep space. They ran a clinic some moons ago on how to huck to female matching players. Naden, of course, one of the captains of the GB Women's Programme. He's done lots of reps, and a great grab from Claire Baker as well. Very intelligent athlete, part of the leadership set for deep space for some seasons on the trot, and the vision to find Wilson, who just has to hustle a little bit. It's a little bit of pressure from Misha Remy, which you love to see, but that was just clean air for deep space.
Wilson taking the cow by the udders as Remy tries to close that gap, but can't get there in time. So, tied up, early break, one apiece for both teams, but really shows you how evenly matched these squads are. Still kind of feels a little bit like a feeling out stage, almost like the early rounds of a boxing match where you're trying to find the space trying to work out what the punch is going to come later on. So it'll be interesting to see how fatigue plays into the decision making. As right now, both teams settling into the final atmosphere quite well. That's two offensive holds, one apiece in a row. Holzer. Big call for a switch to the opposite side of the pitch as Deep Space continue to poach. Goes back instead to Wastenrich. Holzer and Wastenrich. Wastenrich clears out. Comes into Maya. Back to Holzer. And you know Holzer's going to want to go every second pass. Beak. Gilboy shutting that door right in Holzer's face. Goes to Pavan. Pavan right back to Beak. Nice little bit of undercutting, but really well shut down. Deep Space are putting in work. There's Holzer. He wants Pavan, sends it into a double team, but Pavan has the right angle and takes it all the way.
Well, that is all you can really ask of defenders, to try and overload a player streaking towards the deep space, but Pavan proving to be very effective still. Of course, Holzer, he's got to be loving the change in the wind conditions today. Friday was an absolute bloodbath, mudbath. You had rain, you had wind, you had ups and downs. Tiefseetaucher did fare a little bit better than most. They were saying when they came into their live stream game they hadn't been rained on at any point up until that stage in the day, which I don't know how they've done it. I don't know what blood sacrifices they've done, but it paid off. But today, this I think really favours both sides equally. This ability to be able to throw whatever the heck you like. It favours the O-lines. The D-lines are going to have to be a little bit more honest. I'm not hugely loving the poaching that the Space D-line is doing. Yes, it's making Tiefseetaucher think a little bit, slow down perhaps a bunch, but when their O-line had to try and recover that point, we're playing really close, really intense, honest match coverage. That seemed to cause a little bit extra question marks over the heads of Tiefseetaucher.
As Deep Space, the O-line back out there, Hulkyard. That is Jack Hulkyard, married to Sarah Hulkyard. Down the line, into the path of Kate Gibson. And Hulkyard can't get free. Swings it all the way across instead. Waiting there, Max Squires. Hulkyard, front corner, Cook, and that looked classic dump and swing, 4-4.
Yeah, simple. Doesn't need to be particularly crazy. Just swing it to through your male matching athletes and find that space on the soft side. Especially the pace with which this moved. Obviously, there was this great holster. Gibson, high stall, just having to find something to throw at. Squires in the centre. Great little recovery there. Takes it actually quite an interesting angle.
That wasn't an easy catch.
No, kind of almost by virtue of his own hand positioning initially. But it works out. Space, hold on. And I love that blade over to Hulkyard. Again, this is where the lack of wind is really helping both teams out on offense. You can get away with crazier throws.
I actually was talking to both teams beforehand, and as you know, you try to just tease a little bit of inside knowledge out of them, and both teams were saying, look, it's probably not going to be a day for zone, which kind of disappointed me a little bit because I love mixed zone, because there's mismatches, but then it creates these advantages, and it's just like a whole other different type of defense. But like you say, we'll get a couple more expansive, more experimental throws instead of zone, and that's not a bad thing either. Holzer makes the immediate cut, a very high clap catch. Waiting, but nobody able to get free. This focus on taking away the under certainly works for the initial cut, as you can see the switching by the Deep Space female matching players.
Yeah, switching I like, playing help defense I like, but just sitting in a lane against this team I'm not a huge fan of.
Tap back in, Beat goes down the line, receives. Pavan burns to the end zone. And then gets under excessive pressure, but just able to wield it into the middle to Stops. Stops leads Holzer, and Holzer gets low to scoop it up. Looks for Pavan in the back corner, and they're swapping assignments, Millard and Rowe. It's going to be a tough day. 5-4.
There's no easy job for either of these D-lines. Every single roster spot will have their matchups to try and deny. Lorenzo Pavan, clearly the favoured target in the end zone for the early stages, but I love that inside throw to hit stops. Of course, he was wearing Jan Vatrin's shirt earlier on in the week, who's now cleated up for this game. We love to see it.
Really does seem like these teams have managed to get their fitness right and get their tactics right. There's been a break apiece. It's incredibly close as the timeout is called. 5-4 Tiefseetaucher here in the EUCF mixed final.
On October 14th, 2024, the first ever World Beach Ultimate Club Championships will take place in Portugal. Follow the over 600 games as the scores update live online. And with free streaming from the Ulti TV arena, you can catch your favourite teams on your phone or from the comfort of your couch. Don't miss any of the action from Portimao.
Welcome back to this very close matchup in the first final of the day. We've got Open and Women's still to come, but right now, thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday morning. Lorcan Murray, Hannah Pendlebury, and the European Ultimate Club Finals, TST 5-4 up. They started on serve, so everything currently going to plan?
Ish.
There have been 2 breaks either side.
And there have certainly been some very high stall gasps for air from both O-lines so far. Although I just want to say, this is a huge achievement for Tiefseetaucher to be in this match. Of course, we know their roster, we know their talent, but actually their season goals were just to physically be here at the EUCF. And only midway through the season did they think, oh, actually, we've got quite a good shot of getting into a medal game. We've got quite a good shot of winning it all because we haven't dropped a single ranking game, as that is a bad miss for Cook trying to connect with Denniston.
Hornschmeyer quick to pick up on the opposite side. Cook switches to defensive mode immediately and puts on a big widespread force, not letting off those breaks. Forced to send it down. Ketnaka back across to Hornschmeyer. Hornschmeyer, this time he can get the swing across to Wallace. And again, trying to lead Hornschmeyer. He was getting ready to lay out. He didn't have to. Wallace runs to one side, and some of these throws are coming out rather low. Of course, Seibert's not going to have any problems grabbing them. Pointed out early on at the start of the game. 1 to watch throughout it. Kednak has actually been quite impressive, keeping the disc moving for this D-line. Hornschmeyer wants to lead Seibert. Can she get there? No, it's just a little bit too far.
Yeah, already had to inject some nitrous oxide into the knees to bring that earlier slightly errant pass in. Of course, it's wonderful to see Seibert back as well, recovering from ACL injury.
It is something about the, shall we say, more veteran elements of the TST side. Once you've been playing for as long as they have, you're basically always coming back from injury. Naden, there was a pick called downfield. That would explain how Termendi is incredibly free. He's normally fairly free, but incredibly free is, you know, maybe something happened. Looks like it's Wallace who's taking that unenviable task. So Luna Kaiser on the force. There's an immediate violation, as there always is. I always love it, almost like starting blocks where people are like, I'm going, and then they just trip. They're coming back in on Naden. Winds up and unleashes it. Wants to go all the way down the field. Itermendi, skying grab over the outstretched fingers of Wallace. Quadrant clears through. Cook shimmy shakes. Hornschmeyer shuts him down. Itermendi searches. Deniston relieves. There's Wilson in the corner. It floats a bit higher than they want, and it Nakadies it.
Well, that is another defensive break chance for Tiefseetaucher. They have certainly been challenging this deep space O-line. That's 4 turnovers in total, and largely off of throwing mistakes. Of course, Rachel Naden, I'm really impressed with. Normally known as a defensive matchup with the legs, but really just bringing out an absolute cannon this morning.
And Wallace trying to launch it. Caudron reads it, brings it back down, gets it to Deniston. So a couple of mistakes creeping in for both sides now. Cook centers to the middle, swings it to the opposite side, and Ketnacker tries to get the block. Naden digging that one up from the grave. Wallace matched up against Wilson, and Wilson rips it down! 5-5?
I mean, it doesn't feel like it should be 5-5 with that, but what a grinder of a point. Our first with multiple turnovers apiece. But deep space, not really treasuring the disc so much. 4 passes per, well, either turnover or goal in that one. But give Naden the ball, man. She's having a day. Those backhand hucks to the break side are really working out.
I would say Naden's having a career, but yes, a particularly shining day so far.
Well, as I said when we were in play, Lorcan, she's really known for being someone who is incredible at ripping you open with her footwork. Certainly had a breakout season to reach an even higher level, sort of post-pandemic, the league that you had in the UK, but rising to the fore and the challenge of showing us she can be on the other side of the disc too, and Caudron even flipping the role. All of these players on deep space showing that they are fully tooled athletes.
I believe it was over Nora Poel, but just getting a little bit lost under the Wallace huck. Caudron read it to perfection. So now here come TST. They're still in the lead. Well, they're still on serve, I should say, receiving the disc. Tied up. Oostende goes back to Stops. Stops to Holzer. Holzer looks to get it right back to Stops. Once he starts, he can be difficult to limit. Excellent throw right back into the middle. Well taken in by Maya. Maya back to Holzer. And again, fine losing yards. I've been very impressed with Gilboy, who's on the mark right now, all tournament long. That's a difficult catch. Holzer with the backhand. Big throw opening up to the opposite side. Maya can't get the finish. Excellent work on the force to limit that opportunity. Gilboy bids, gets there late. Holzer down the line. Into the hands of Oostende. Oostende goes back. Maya. Oostende. Maya continues. That also makes sense.
I'm going to say she's got one of the most difficult names because it's got all the German sounds. But Sonja Heinrich. Heinrich. But she has actually got experience of playing in the UK. She had a little brief stint.
A really important handler for the TST O-line.
You're going to say that name a couple more times, Laux.
Heinrich.
And riches indeed. I love the way that TST are really using the break side. Holzer, of course, a big part of that was his throws. Gilboy doing a great job to try and neutralize him.
That disc is going to go back to Maya.
But I don't actually mind that. She's not really got too... Oh, no, here she comes. Here comes the matchup. But definitely better field position than Vos Heinrich.
Maya sits it out. I thought that was going to get D'd, but I forgot it was Beek on the receiving end. Maya has taken over this point as they get right outside the end zone. Back to Beek. Was Heinrich sitting at the base. Big swing all the way around to Holzer. Isolation cut from the front of Stack. Holzer wants to blade it through, and that looked up to me. Called a goal by Ian Tate. Just a little bit of a slide tackle. So you're going to have another look. I don't love this throw. I like the idea. I don't love the throw. Brilliant grab.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, actually that throw being quite as bad as it was is the only reason why Tate didn't get it. If it had been released any higher, then that is a block. I mean, we don't love to see it. I mean, you can actually see on the replay in real time as Tate realizes, oh no, this is not a great slide for me. But he does try and soften the blow as he connects with Saskia Bick, who hopefully will be absolutely fine because she's been a big part of this O-line so far. Tiefseetaucher getting away with that one, but still doing a great job.
There's absolutely no malice in that contact. And on a team that is filled with people with plenty of experience, Sarah Hermaking, only 20 years old, already making a name for herself.
Well, I mean, she's a legacy athlete. She plays alongside her mum sometimes. In fact, there are 3 Hermaking women in the German ultimate scene, and we love to see them. I know they'll be watching this one, probably home on their sofas, enjoying a nice morning beverage.
She's actually the captain of the under-20 women's team. There's the setup to Squires. And the former jester, not afraid to clown around a little, but it's all business right now as he goes to work with Cook. Brilliant cut into the space. Wants to lead once more. Tries to continue down the line. Excellent switch. Hornschmeyer and Wallace. It's back to Hulkyard. Was expecting a pick call to come, but no, just gets to Naden. That's just how good Naden is. Hulkyard dips the inside shoulder, gets the short up the line. The poach, well taken advantage of. That bid coming in late, and Wilson, he's got long legs, and we certainly hope they're okay.
Well, it is a fair flash into the lane. You can see he sets off early. Wilson takes the inside channel, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this one come back on an accepted foul. So there was a bit of a contact around the leg, and indeed it is going to be accepted by Hornschmeyer. Of course, one of the leaders of this Tiefseetaucher team.
So I think it's Mendy coming on for Wilson.
That seems a fair replacement.
I'm surprised he wasn't already out there, to be honest with you.
We've only got 7 slots, and I think this is a 4 female matching athlete point. Oh no, I take it back. It's 4 males.
Mendy. Naden makes the move in the end zone. Great work on the force by Hornschmeyer. Wants to limit those options. Forced to go to Scuba. Dump to Squires. Takes it down. Stops coming across.
Well, this point having a lot of contact as Tiefseetaucher try and grind another break out of this one. But it is a slightly risky biscuit. That Scuba was really very soft. I don't think there's too much velocity coming in sideways, just a connection that you don't love to see between Squires and stops.
And with those kind of floaty discs, as people get stuck underneath them, I do think, like, if you're not looking where you're running and you get cleaned out, especially in that kind of a situation, it's kind of the thrower who initiated that foul.
Well,
but
it's
they agree.
Not so much cleaned out. I think it's just the height differential being a little bit different there. You know, kind of when you have 2 players that have their armpit and shoulder almost in the same spot, but that's a spot to be found for sure. Perfect execution of that slightly soft mark for Hulkyard.
Squires just getting low and blading it around to Hulkyard. Really nice stuff. And again, you can see Hulkyard doesn't make a cut, just stands there. It's like, I know exactly what kind of throws he has, so I know he can hit me. 6-6. This one is just so close. Even with the breaks, the lead never went beyond 1.
Well, and of course, the interesting thing, Lorcan, if this one trades out, the team that scores first get the disc on Universe. So Deep Space have put themselves in every position in this game by getting that first break of score, that first point on the board.
So Deep Space. Is there anything you'd like to see them kind of change up on the defensive side? They broke for the opening point, like you say. Haven't really come close since.
I personally have enjoyed the defense they played the most when they were recovering that offensive possession earlier on.
They've only turned the O-line for TST once, and it was in the first point.
But that's what I mean. I really liked that defense. It worked very effectively, and it was just playing really grindy, grudgy, challenging Tiefseetaucher to try and throw it over the top of them. Although you do have Holzer on the O-line, which is someone you don't want to do that with.
And Beek working to perfection. That's just 2 open side up the line cuts, and they're halfway down the pitch. Now Holzer. Beek more than happy to sit that out in the space, trusting the reception, trusting the connection that they've built in Munich. Some of these players have been with this team for 15 years. Nice to the front. Herman King wants to throw, but it's ever so slightly overshot, and a turnover, the second of the game for the own line.
Yeah, that one just a little bit too pacey on it. Was Heinrich so close? You can just see the claws close.
But like a claw machine, empty.
But I think this is a bit of a power line. You've got Naden coming on. Of course, has been dominating with those big backhand breaks on the O-line.
Potter picks up the disc to start it. Tries to go down the line, and the help defense arrives, but a little too late. We've seen that from Tiefseetaucher a few times. Kovshov now recognizes where the poach is, tries to get it to Tate, and quite frankly, the wind had other ideas. Holzer quick to pick up. Heinrich has to make a move as Kovshov comes across to stop the open pass. Momentarily, Potter slow to pick Heinrich up. Now Pavan. Potter absolutely sent sailing. Holzer. Heinrich. Really great coverage to stop the pass to Pavan. Holzer. And there's the quick throw across into the waiting arms, and they get the goal.
Saskia Beek collecting that one on the end of it. Jan Vatrin, who of course has been largely playing a supporting role. He's one of the supporting leaders of this Tiefseetaucher team, but we had to add him back into our roster because of course he wasn't playing earlier in the tournament. But what I don't really like about that defense, Lorcan, is how far away the reset defenders were from the handlers. So the handler marks, especially as we got towards the more compressed field, that final third possession, they were standing off, they were allowing those free resets. And Tiefseetaucher's top talent in the backfield are just going to eat that for days. They don't have to rush this game. They know it's not about quickly trying to run away from deep space. They don't have control of momentum. They just need to, I mean, you've got Nikita Kovshov on Holzer, which I think is a fantastic idea, a really rapid player. Kovshov is really experienced, he's got a lot of pedigree at the elite level, and having someone who can go toe-to-toe in those small spaces, those moves, that's great. But Potter poaching into the lane, it didn't really seem to be causing too much trouble. It's just giving those freebies, those resets, plenty of oxygen in their lungs, which you don't want to do.
Right now, we've got the opportunity to go to Galaxy Point. Denniston collects it in the middle from the throw from Caudron, feeds Hulkyard on the far sideline. Now Denniston takes it back. Again, the handle mark standing off a little bit here as well. Cross to Squires. Squires near sideline. Thinks about launching it deep. Puts it back in the pocket as Gibson's going to have to come back under. Denniston, shimmy, shaking, but cannot escape the attentions of Seibert. Goes to Hulkyard down the pitch. Wallace tries to pick off. Gets turned around. Itermendi. Nearly impossible to track. But he sits that one up. It's in the air. And a big D from Holzer. I feel like Hulkyard was a little lackadaisical going after that.
It's not oftentimes you'll see Jack Hulkyard being bested like that, but Holzer with a little bit more veteran experience. He's been playing for 18 years, which is only just over half his lifespan. So
a chance to break to take half. We've only had one break so far in this game, and Seibert calls the timeout. What do you think of that?
What, the choice to call the timeout, or the chat being had with Denniston about where the stall is? Because that seemed almost immediate.
Oh no, I respect the chat. Like, no, 1 is different to 0. It's 1. I'm coming back in on 2. I got nothing but respect for that. But the timeout, I suppose you might as well use it now. If you score this, the half's over.
Yeah, and I think it was Space, was it not, that called the earlier timeout? Because you've only seen 1 this half, if I'm not mistaken. So as in they have 2 to burn, if Tiefseetaucher haven't already used a timeout.
I suppose, yeah. You call timeout here. If you wind up giving up the disc, concede, you can call another one.
Because I think at this point in the game, because it is so close, because it is so tight, because there is almost no wind. I mean, talk about squandered opportunity right in the center of your frame there. Ian Tate, one of the biggest athletes on this pitch, and they throw into the floor in front of him by accident. That sucks. But
it was also a high release backhand, and I'm not entirely sure how that happened, to be honest with you, but I'm sure Kovshov, that's not what we expect from him, and he's going to work very hard to make up for
yes, I'm saying it's not expected. It sucks. It's a miscue that you really just don't want to see, especially on a rare defensive break opportunity, because that was, however, I think a little bit more of a don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. That slightly feisty shot that went too far for Vos Heinrich. And so the game continueth. I think taking the time out here, I don't mind. You do not want to burn out these O-line players. You just want to punch them in, because we've got a little bit of a power line. We've got some Wallace defense. We've got some Seibert, some Holzer, Hermeking, Hunschemeyer, Bake. It's a pretty big set.
It's a very strong one. They've clearly come out here with the intention of taking the break. Holzer showing he can get it done on both sides of the disc with that incredible block on Holkjard. Also showing he's not a big fan of dump cuts. Just throw it to me, I'm open. Hornschmeyer, Holzer. That's going to go around to Wallace. Not sure if it was intended for him, but he's the one with the disc. Pops it back to Holzer. Couple of cuts under. Seibert was free. Denniston, again, sitting out in the middle of that lane like you were saying. And then big bid off the outstretched fingers. I don't think any of us really expected that either. So deep space, a chance to tie this game back up.
Just briefly, I think Denniston is one of the few athletes that can actually look like she's poaching, because have you seen how many traps she sets doing that?
I'm a very big fan. Sometimes I feel like I should stop talking about Denniston so much. Quadrant also an incredible player. Immediately the lethality of those fakes, you have to respect him. It moves the defense around. Holkjard, a rising star, coming initially out of the Mohawks from the University of Sussex. Squires all the way across. And continuing, he's just so relentless. And there's the shot to the front corner for the goal.
Love that use of power momentum. The chop step from Squires as he releases that without letting his center of gravity fall to the wayside. Big fan.
So excellent recovery. Alvaro Itermendi picks up his second goal of the game. Really great composure. It was pressure on the dump that led to that turnover. Like, Seibert's got good throws. That wasn't an easy one to catch. I think Holzer's a little frustrated because he could get a finger to it. As you see here, this was all about the incredible moves of Squires. Gets the big leading pass across to Holkjard. Holkjard not making the same mistake twice in a point. Attacks it as high as he can. And by the time he turns and looks, Squires is already clear up the line. Brilliant, aggressive dump cutting. Which is just one of my favorite things. We talked a lot about Menard, who will be playing the final later on. I just love intelligent, aggressive dump cutting. I think probably that Kelly Johnson of Seattle Mixtape was the best in the world in it, for example.
It's interesting, though, because some of the flow coming out of space, you are seeing moments where there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of movement. There was a moment earlier on in that point where Cordron went to do the kind of like shake and bake spin move in the hand of space, where you kind of go up low and then you immediately stutter back. But didn't see the fact that Kate Gibson had absolutely launched out of the stack into the pocket right behind Cordron's movement with so much acreage. And I'm really excited to see Kate Gibson on an O-line. Also slightly sad to see Kate Gibson on an O-line, because she's one of those players that when she gets mad in the right way, and on a D-line can completely turn a game around. But interesting to see not always this conservation of movement and attack and energy, but a proper slip from the O-line of Tiefseetaucher. Sorry, that was a D-line point, wasn't it? The D-line on their opportunity to punch that one in.
Big difference between 8-6 and 8-7. As we see 7-7, this to take half. Archer disc in hand, quite a defensive powerhouse.
Big fan of pineapples as well. A Disky Tom's Tourney finalist.
Holzer looks, sets it back into the middle to Pavan. And Hornschmeyer in the isolation space, but waiting a little bit before making the cut. Ever so slightly out of time with the Holzer and Pavan resetting. There's the big throw all the way down the pitch. As Oostende cleared out and came all the way back. I think ran the entire length of the pitch in order to get free for that under. Back to Hornschmeyer. Hornschmeyer, high release flick inside to Pavan. Pavan, they're past the halfway, just outside of the red zone, to borrow an American phrase. Hermit King, happy to throw him basically back to halfway for Holzer. The Holzer-Gilboy matchup has been very exciting as well. Swung all the way around to Beek. Was Heinrich, clears up line. Pavan, looking for somebody. That somebody is the man himself, Torben Hornschmeyer, and the Thunder Bear roars into a halftime lead, 8-7.
Well, there were some moments where Tiefseetaucher were kind of cutting each other off of great cuts from the real downfield space a little bit closer, but they stayed connected. I love the audacity of Dennis Holzer to play the super dump in the European Championship final. I mean, if anything, maybe we could say that actually Gilboy taking the assignment to be even more aggressive in that lane. There were points where he was communicating, bringing in the mark and allowing some female matching athletes to go and sit in that lane, but great footwork. Torben Hornschmeyer with a proper shake and bake to run away with it. And I have to say, it's nice also seeing Saskia Bake doing great things on offense, because of course formerly got Defensive Player of the Year previously.
Saskia Bake, one of the brilliant cutters for this side. Another fantastic cutter for TST is Lorenzo Pavan, who has been putting up stats throughout this tournament, going along with 3 goals, 2 assists so far in this match. And you can see they come out smooth as well-cooked spaghetti. And then not afraid to go and get it himself as well. There's the shot from Holzer. You know, he's launching a lot. And they've rotated players through. Millard and Rowe have both tried to pick up and limit Pavan's lethality, as we see a lovely layout from Holzer. But it's just such a difficult assignment, and one that they're going to need to, I think, honestly, change up their game a little bit. Maybe try some bracketing. I know I feel like I say that every game. But we have to wait to find out how Deep Space can get into this game and get into a lead that they only had for the initial point of the matchup. Plenty of action still to come and only one place to see it. We'll be right back. As the teams line up for the second half, this one has been every bit of the nail-biter we thought it would be. We're approaching squeaky bum time, to borrow the parlance. And how are the stats coming together right now for these two teams? Hannah.
I'm sorry, I'm just losing my mind that you used the phrase squeaky bum time during a championship final, because this is the proper top of the forehead of the tournament, and we are seeing absolute class coming out of Tiefseetaucher's O-line. Some slightly recovered, frayed performances for Deep Space, but they know how to grind their way through to a gold medal. We've seen them do it before, Lorcan.
Quadrant swings it across to Naden. Halkyard forced to bail on that undercut, being marked very closely by Conor O'Brien. Quadrant, big fake, and with half a step, forcing the defense to take about 6. It's the intensity of those fakes really can move defenses around. Cook, you know, he can throw it up when necessary, and the TST defense all fall backwards. Now Halkyard launching, looking for Naden. It's a brilliant throw and a great catch too, 8-8.
Did anyone else see that happening? See that coming about 5 seconds ago? Even before, I mean, I really do love the respect that Naden's been given, pushed away from the disc, because those big backhand breaks have been so pivotal. But going back to her, what she made her name doing, just absolutely dominating the Deep Space. The matchup of Sofia Marrero just stayed underneath pretty much the whole point. Naden just been like, all right, I'll happily take 4 meters deep of you. And Misha Remy, of course, there threatening a little bit, but never really seemed to give Nads the respect she is absolutely rightfully due. Because if you're going to poach off the far side a touch harder.
That throw was aware of where he was and put it in a place that kind of eliminated the poach. I get what you mean, the setup maybe a bit further across, but Hulkyard, I think if he goes any further across, Hulkyard would have been fine throwing to the opposite sideline.
I mean deeper. Little bit deeper.
When Cook got it, there was 3 players back there. There was 2 deep space players, and they kind of came back under, and then Naden just turned and went right back. And I think that's really intelligent cutting and really smart handling as well from Cook to not just launch it straight away. As here comes the big pull, and absolutely sprinting down after it. John Saville putting in a shift. Beak. Looking for cuts. Across to Holzer. Quick pop. Holzer says no to the deep shot. Oh, he's called back for the travel by Saville. No, I don't know how Rowe didn't get to that one. Milliseconds and millimeters in the difference. Pavan outside the end zone. You can't stop against TST. You come close, but not close enough. They're going to take advantage. Holzer and Pavan. We've watched the 2 of them work together outside the end zone very successfully so far in this game, and Beak comes for the collection. 9-8.
Oh, Beak identifies that perhaps the defense of Hulkyard was just sitting and watching elsewhere, the action between the handlers outside the end zone, but I have to say, as the scores and pressure ratchet up a little bit, as Rowe puts on absolute hero effort defensively. I mean, that pressure over the course of the rest of this game will start to have an impact. And I have to say, Tiefseetaucher are occasionally looking off open underneath athletes. And it's not like they don't have the talent. And every time they do, it hurts me inside a tiny bit. Obviously, they're still playing very well. They are calm. They are looking in control. But there are moments where you think, you could have had that.
As we work down the pitch, it does seem a lot of their yards, if it's not Hucks going for the end zone, it's a lot of handler-generated movement. And then once they get right outside of the end zone, it seems like it's Pavan, Holzer, and Beak. So, like, look, you're our 3, and you just keep cutting. I mean, I'm brought back to one of the earliest scores where Pavan was cutting for a full 10-second stall count, basically, against Rowe. And Rowe shut him down for 8 of those 10 seconds and then got beaten at the last, which is an incredible defensive performance, which just shows how committed those 3 players are to each other in the short space outside the end zone.
And look, we can throw all the shade we want from the booth, but it's effective, and you can't really question it if it works.
Cook. Naden. Center of the pitch. Lovely isolation setup from the 3-4 initiation. Mendy goes deep. Naden decides against sending it, instead going under to Claire Baker. Now Naden clears up the line. Seibert Naden, that's another brilliant matchup for you. Baker's going to have to take on a difficult inside flick break, and it looks like a throwaway. That would discredit that defense. Really great dump defense. Seibert, and I think the other side of it was Nora Poel.
Shutting down the resets, Lorcan, putting real pressure on close to the disc. Yes, we know everyone can throw it long. We've seen it. It's worked. But that is really fantastic defense from Tiefseetaucher. And I love that. Just identifying, there's no way my matchup is going to get that. Off I go.
Seibert on the sideline, centers to Hornschmeyer. Not a huge amount of movement happening. Forced to go back instead. And across, Hornschmeyer doesn't want the lead. I think Cauldron did a great job of shutting off Poel's up the line cut. And a big bit, there's going to be a foul called. Call of going through the back. Let's have another look ourselves.
Well, she definitely did get both hands on it, and there was heavy contact as Marrero went for the bid, and Gibson just streaked through behind her.
It's tough. I mean, how many catches have we seen so far in this game where there's been half a foot of separation between the defender and the offender?
Yeah, that little initiation of contact, I think, as Gibson kind of goes more towards the disc aggressively, there is a bit more of a push on the shoulder than I'd like.
And it's one of those things, because the disc was already a bit too far ahead of Marrero, I do think she was already kind of laying out, like leaning forward. So in that point, you're extra vulnerable to a slight bit of contact.
Well, we do have a space player in the booth who could add perspective to the detriment of their team.
So as they continue to have a little bit of a conversation. And it is agreed it's going to be a foul. I say that was resolved in very reasonable time, given the stakes, given everything going on. To me, that's great spirit right there.
It works. When it works, it works.
Leading pass gets the touch from Cook. It's just enough. And he spoiled that pass. Now wants to send it all the way, looking for Gibson. And all he finds is Morero. She read that and positioned herself brilliantly. Now it's Seibert. Seibert looks for Hornschmeyer. Hornschmeyer clears out. Comes right back under, planting Wilson like a statue. Now Hornschmeyer rips one all the way down the field, and it's right into the breadbasket. Easy catch, collect for Andrew Gavin, and the first 2-point lead of the game.
Who's driving the bus? Right now, it's Tiefseetaucher. Wow, I mean, Andrew Gavin on our previous live stream game for Tiefseetaucher. We made the mistake, Lorcan, late in the game of saying he'd had quite a quiet time. And then he just absolutely exploded the final stages of, I think, the quarterfinal. I mean, Elliot Cook getting enough touch on it and then backing it up with the clap block as well. I think, if anything, Gavin was just a little bit spooked by the fact that it wasn't a full block.
I think he had to change direction in midair, and that's very difficult to do. What a throw.
Oh, yeah.
What a throw. Are you kidding me? That's like a 10-foot pass that went the length of the pitch.
I have to say, the highest percentile of execution we're seeing from the discs of Tiefseetaucher is just a little giant margin above some of the highest level of execution of throws we've seen from deep space. That is really the difference maker for me. Slightly more intense, slightly more high pressure defense being played around the disc, and that little extra finesse is being found. But of course, both teams have had tough games. They've had a long tournament.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's a small gap. It's a big difference. 10-8. First break of the second half. There was one apiece, and TST responded with a hold and a break themselves. Can Deep Space do the same? Well, it all starts with the offense. See Cauldron trying to get it to Squires, really well marked. Clearly recognizing, like, Hornschmeyer, you're gonna have to do a job here, and it's gonna be a hard day. Denniston getting that one over the outstanding hands. Wastes no time launching to Wilson. He has one sky already. He tries to climb the ladder, but this time just using the body. That's intelligence. And that's a score, 10-9.
Yeah, I love the attempt for Ketnacker, regardless. Didn't have position, does the only thing you really can do, which is try and catch those fingertips on the underside and flop it away. But great pressure as well from Seibert, being put on Layla Denniston, who makes no hesitation, zero pause, sees the separation for Wilson upfield and guns that big backhand. And of course, lefty as well. So you're always going to get at least one freebie out of a left-handed player before someone goes, aha, hold on, I need to change my mark slightly.
And I really do think that shouldn't be true, but it just is.
It's like playing tennis. There's just the only thing is to have two lefties marking each other.
I suppose, yeah. It's the same in a lot of sports, I suppose. It always kind of comes that way. There's the argument to be made as well in a lot of combat sports. Or it's a big thing in hurling, so I suppose that might translate to hockey and ice hockey and other like stick and puck sports or stick and ball sports, whatever you want to call them.
But at the moment, Tiefseetaucher rightfully one break up in this game. The upstarts from Munich, their debut season.
It's so strange to call them upstarts when their average age is like 32, I think. Although Herman King probably brings that down as Holzer trying to lift his team up and keep the lead. They've only given up one break so far, and they haven't exactly been throwing out a lot of turnovers either. Was Teinrich, gets it across. Pavan launching it, he sits into another flick, doesn't come out as clean as he'd like, and Archer's right there with the bullseye block.
Swipe the credit card. That is money. Pavan, of course, not really known as a thrower in previous campaigns for other teams. Had an amazing time at EUC in Limerick, though. Was all over the stats board. I think his total tally was 26 for the Italian Open team.
It didn't come out clean. If you compare that to the throw he had earlier, which looked effortless, that one looked strained. As Hulkyard sits it into the middle. Denniston. Gilboy. A brilliant thrower, and that might be like the second or third time he's actually gotten on the disc. Denniston swings it across. Kovshov wants to go for the break. Gets it. Hulkyard. A nice little tap to stay in bounds and sends it back to Denniston. Really great swing on the opposite side. Millard using the full width of the pitch. That one going low. Kovshov immediately called up by Remy. Kovshov immediately splits one up. Hulkyard, does he run out of pitch or does he hold on? And it's an incredible play. Tom.
This game is delivering everything you could ever possibly want from a European Championship final, Lorcan. That was blazing. I mean, Nikita Kovshov with a very difficult Guitar Hero slide and then just steps up, looks, sees Hulkyard wandering away to the deep space. I mean, we've certainly seen some exquisite deep defense being played by Michael Stops to nullify shots before, but beautiful. And the movement as well for Hulkyard doesn't commit to the far break side too early, just doesn't want to tempt the defender to really play too honest. Nice hold of that line and then tracking the disc. Beautiful stuff. Well, Space putting themselves back in this.
You can see Jack Hulkyard. We were talking about how many stats Lorenzo is putting up. Hulkyard has been an absolute revelation this season, stepping into the big leagues and playing like a massive individual. Also, a quick shout out to Stops and Remy for the immediate calls in favor of the opposition. Again, really spirited game. 10-10. We're 2/3 of the way through. This is an ideal first final. Tight, mixed matchup, and just when an advantage appears for one team, it is erased by the other. Tate with the pull. Was Heinrich underneath. Centers to Holzer. And we see the 2-5, the vertical. It's a Moses split. And power, I think, set up for Pavan to come under and Hornschmeyer to go deep. Schmeier against Gibson. Schmeier's just going to get into the position and bring it down. Set play perfection. 11-10.
Delicious. Spread that on a piece of toast. Put some slag, as the locals call it, those little chocolate hundreds and thousands. And then eat it every day. A nutritious meal for you. I mean, set plays, we haven't actually seen too many at EUCF. Certainly Seskidistas have had some really solid ones. They have this kind of horizontal stack slash play, but that was just a real thing of beauty. Love the sight from Gibson to see what's happening. I think that Deep Space have been doing a fair amount of bracketing with their female matching defenders, a little bit more honest defense being played with the male matching side, especially with the likes of Holzer, of course, someone you want to keep away from the disc. But Torben Hornschmeyer showing us the wheels in the Deep Space.
And helping settle them down, as that was 2 on the bounce for Deep Space. They needed that one. I like that, you know, you set it up because we're just really clearly going to go for a play off of this. But was Heinrich feeling it and getting it to Holzer immediately? Almost disguises the set play ever so slightly.
So this is what I was talking about earlier, Lorcan. Now we've had the second half. Because of that break of score to start, we are trading up with 2 breaks apiece for Tiefseetaucher.
Cook. Can't get the throw across. Trying to get it to Cauldron. There was all kinds of pressure. Eventually finds Naden. Cauldron calling for it, free in the middle of the pitch. Naden continues the move, but that is nice defensive positioning from Marrero. Denniston comes under. Seibert and Denniston been battling. Denniston back into the handler space. Wants the big swing. I thought Seibert got an ever so slight touch, but Naden able to bring it down on the far sideline. Goes to the continuation of Wilson. In space, in stride. 11-11. Oh, no, I think that might be going back.
No, I doubt it will. Michel Remy had a good position, almost GA-like on the sideline, and immediately called it in bounds. So we don't necessarily need to see the replay, but we will anyway because it was excellent. That back foot, perfect for Dan Wilson. The poise, the catch. He is having a great day today because, of course, he had that knock earlier on in the game, and if he hadn't been taken to the fields, that would have been a mammoth loss for Deep Space. But that back toe went down pretty perfectly on our replay. We did see it, and the 25-year-old with 4 goals in this championship final.
And sometimes when you look at Deep Space, I think typically people think, all right, best finisher on that team, Alvaro Otamendi, nearly impossible to stop in the end zone. Wilson playing up to the big stage. Brilliant. Had that soaring grab, had the really smart positioning play, and right there, that's all about timing. Those are 3 fundamentals of good cutting.
Well, you can see why Tiefseetaucher are focusing on the female defending matchups when Deep Space have the disc, because when it works and when their female players can catch and connect with each other, it is a thing of beauty. So Pavan to pick us up.
Pavan immediately launching deep, going for Holzer, a bit of a role reversal, and Holzer in a sea of black. I don't know if there's going to be a call on that. That I would have to say looked like a turnover. It was position gained, immediate recognition. The disc was always arcing more than he wanted it to.
Well, Chow Yen, so very unfortunate to be backing that one up, but all the velocity of Holzer coming through. I'm not sure if it was necessarily a call on the defender on the freer space, but maybe just to check, are you okay? But looked fairly clean to me. Great help defense from Deep Space just to put all that pressure on, but hopefully everyone will be able to stand up and be okay. Gilboy taking a knock as well.
I think that might actually be a main part of the call, and gonna need to take another breath as we take another look at this. Gilboy coming with the backup defense as well. Kovshav getting quite high.
I think that's just friendly fire on Gilboy. He actually seems to move out of the way, avoiding contact, and rightly so, because there was a lot of focus and attention.
All right, Deep Space, a chance to take the lead. They were in the lead at 1-0.
Is that 2 injury substitutions for Space?
Did Kovshav go off as well? I see Hulkyard and Squires standing there. Yeah, he must have. All right, so Squires going to pick it up.
I mean, 2 of your O-line coming on as injury substitutions, and no substitutions taken by Tiefseetaucher. Wild.
Squires walking to the front, Holzer on the mark. He knows this is the moment. Take the lead. Take serve. Put yourselves in position for a repeat championship. Hulkyard. Can't get the under straight away to Hill. Now he's going to have to sit one out for Squires, who cleared out up the line about 5 seconds ago. Just tireless effort. Goes back to Hulkyard. Good cover by Hornschmeyer to stop the swing across. Squires. So right now Squires and Hulkyard just trying to get some cutters free downfield. Not a lot of help coming. Forced to go with the big shot. Pavan has that inside angle all the way. Excellent recovery attempt by Millard, but Pavan was always taking that one down. And that was a desperation throw. Deep Space were just not able to get free. Hornschmeyer, high release flick. Hill almost comes across, but Holzer collects. A little bit of back and forth with Seibert. Now Seibert. Hill recovers. Squires picks up Holzer. I think he was helping out in the deep space, so there's the quick pop back. Holzer inside flick to Pavan. Pavan outside the end zone. Couldn't get the first throw across, goes to the dump instead to Hornschmeyer. He's just so confident throwing it way back into the handling space. And now Pavan and Holzer. We've seen this all game long, and of course number 7 just ahead. It's the Pavan Holzer beak end zone structure, and this time they go to the front. Hermiking able to get there just about. That was a narrow one.
and made even the finer margin by the efforts of Sarah Holkyard. That was a heckin' layout, and she eats the dust underneath it, but cannot stop hammocking. That was a real grind. I'm, again, not a huge fan of this poaching off of a handler, a key handler, Dennis Holzer, to play help defense in a lane somewhere. I mean, it does slow things down, but there is a seriously high Frisbee IQ in this key handler set for the Tiefseetaucher O-line. And actually, the positioning to stop Georgie Hill's excellent attempt to approach defense, that positioning was just almost perfection for my eyes.
It was nicely done. I didn't realize until we saw the replay just how close Sarah Holkyard came on that block. And Pavan picking up a block himself to rescue possession and keep them on serve. Absolutely stellar player, performing on the biggest stage in the mixed division here at EUCF 2024. We're entering the final 20 minutes. And the final few points, 12-11, Tiefseetaucher on serve, but they have turned over more in this second half. They're giving the opportunities up. And deep space just not able to capitalize. Huge O-line defense from Tiefseetaucher on that last play. Cook collects. Almost gets it to Cauldron. Gavin screaming through to stop that first pass. And Cook throws it for Itermendi, but behind him the inside flick just too zippy.
Just distracted by the dazzling locks of Gavin. I
didn't want to say anything.
But did you see that footwork as he kind of went to kind of bracket out and then back in? Like just choppy steps. That was really something that he's clearly been working on.
So Gavin to Ketnaka. And the dump straight back. Had Marrero coming under, but didn't have the time to wait for it. Now hard running right in front of the disc. Thoughts of a deep shot. Dismissed for now. Fill it back to Ketmaka. Ketmaka. Needs Gavin to get free from Cook. Can't do it in time. Block coming through. Did Gibson get over the top of that? It looked fairly clean to me. Let's have another sconce. Harder to tell.
Blink and you miss it. We need that one on a frame by frame to give any real validity to it. I mean, was control established?
Oh, no, I don't think that. What it looked like to me was Gibson coming through the hand, maybe?
Yes. So that is exactly. I'm leading you to the question of, so in real play, it maybe looks like a strip, but is that clean enough? Is that enough disc for Gibson? Either way, I still love getting to see her play defense, but we're going to have it reviewed by some of the players here in the booth alongside because they are allowed to do that. So we'll get that frame by frame again, but great stifling defense from space. So it will be accepted as a turn. So that one goes in the block tally for Kate Gibson.
And deep space able to earn back the disc. This game, no team is able to make a significant lead. And both have had opportunities. Cauldron swinging across to Naden. Itermendi momentarily comes back under. You can see he's getting bracketed out of the stack. They know he's a major threat. They go to Holkyard in the handling space. Not afraid to throw some ones up himself. Across to Gibson. Gibson has Cook in the middle. Finds him. Wilson makes the move towards the end zone. Cook decides against it. Itermendi trying to go to work on Phillip as Gibson goes up the line, collects and overthrows Itermendi.
Yeah, a little bit too much boost on that one. But I'm really liking the way that space are now clearing out. They're not kind of trying to cluster this hand of space by doing anything too jinky. They're just making big shapes, clearing that space, and it's allowing them to connect a little bit more firmly. But that one just too much.
So Gavin, front of the end zone. A nice inside throw into the open space of Paul. Well, tries to lead Gavin, and it's perfectly weighted. I thought maybe it would run away from him. And how he absolutely sends one to nobody.
Playing for yards. I mean, it's a nice throw if it had had anyone streaking for it. Loving the help defense being played there, the bracketing of the male matching defenders downfield. Really great communication, very clear both verbally and with hand signals for each other. And that is how you achieve the turnover. You just smother everybody.
So Cook, third opportunity for the deep space O-line. Iturmendi immediately goes deep. Marrero pulls up to help out Phillip from the back of the stack. As Cook dumps to Caudron, gets it back. Gibson on an undercut, punishing the poach defense of Marrero. The available space, Iturmendi has Wilson. Naden in the end zone, Wilson sending it, and a big grab.
Almost apologising for her own actually relatively reserved score celebration. I mean, challenge a player like Naden in the air and you are going to come unglued frequently, especially when she's on offense, because of course that is the advantage. It's a great find, just that little bit too late on the launch from Luana Kaiser. He's been playing for 5 years, picked up the sport in Munich. Oh, I take that back. It might be somewhere else. Because actually I see the Trondheim Frisbee Club being represented. Of course, we call them Woodcheekers, but they've now changed to MUC Women. Had that Universe Point loss at the German Championships. But Naden, it's been on our screens, formerly playing for Smog, has picked up for Reading Ultimate. In fact, there's actually an interesting level of Reading Ultimate crossover with this deep space roster, because Caudron also used to be in the red and black. Because it's just those two, a town and a city very close to each other. Reading is now also connected by a train line to London. But we're going to take a break here in the booth, as the athletes on the field do too.
On October 14th, 2024, the first ever World Beach Ultimate Club Championships will take place in Portugal. Follow the over 600 games as the scores update live online. And with free streaming from the Ulti TV arena, you can catch your favourite teams on your phone or from the comfort of your couch. Don't miss any of the action from Portimao.
Welcome back. It's a game to 3 for gold. Hornschmeyer, disc in hand. TST on serve. The outstretched exclamations from the undercuts. Eventually, Jan Watrin gets it, gives it right back to Hornschmeyer. There's Holzer, the bedrock of this TST offensive line. And a nice swing across past to Maya. Maya leads it. Wastenreich, another key cornerstone of that bedrock. Back to Maya. Pavan against Rowe. Rowe wants it so bad, and he's given just the slightest gaps, but Maya able to fit the disc through it. And Pavan over the top. Big bids from Gilboy, who had to come off injured earlier, and Naden. Hornschmeyer takes it down.
Naden putting herself in the firing line to get the block there. Great to see Rowe back on the pitch, but of course, hate to see him end up in another physical battle. Didn't quite see the wide shot there as to the original position of Naden as to where she was, but she will take the injury sub. Hopefully that's not her out of the game, because she has been so impactful for space.
And in this moment, when it gets so close together, championship caliber experience like Hornschmeyer has is going to be vital. So
Gibson will be coming on. Of course, Nader not making a play on the disc actively there, because no opportunity to. It came out as a very late over-the-shoulder stall release.
Hornschmeyer, quick throw across to Holzer, and he tears down the line. Gilboy tries to close the gap, but just slipping at the last. So the hold, 13-12. It's getting awfully tight.
Well, I'm sure all the Tauchers back in Munich, because of course there are even more talented athletes back home who did not make this roster, or some 20 to represent here at the EUCF level. None more committed though than Ronja Ross-Heinrich, who has actually quit her job in order to have enough time to attend EUCF. She didn't actually have enough annual leave, so she just went, all right then, peace out, boss. She's actually quit her job to be here. So is that gamble going to pay off for a silver or a gold medal, is the question.
Well, the real reward is the joy of coming here for the weekend. No, it's gold. It's got to be gold. And it has seemed TST, as close as this match has been, no one ever really able to properly stretch out a lead, the biggest being them being 10-8 up, a lead they then immediately surrendered right back to deep space. They do seem to just have their noses in front. So they come out here with the D line. As we enter the final 10 minutes of the match, you got to think this one's going 15.
Oh, I hope so, Lorcan. It deserves to, based on the play so far. I mean, two very evenly matched teams. One a title defender, one inaugural season at this level. Of course, technically speaking, TCT were founded 18 years ago.
Cook. The throw across to Squires. Squires inside, really nicely done and taken by Baker. But there's the block from Wallace. It was a bit too close to Squires. Wallace takes off, wants someone to send it. Holzer has other ideas. We're going to calm this down.
Well, it speeds up his pace a little bit to field the disc.
Isolation on Hornschmeyer in the dump space. Squires picks him up. Hornschmeyer goes deep. Gibson peels off to help. There's the cut back into the middle. Holzer can take that break all day. Wallace taking advantage of the poach. Back to Hornschmeyer. Hornschmeyer looks for Hermeking. Hermeking corrects the cut and collects. Looks to go back to Hornschmeyer. Throws just a bit too soon. And it's a turnover again. Squires is done playing long wind offense. Send it to Wilson. Chasing it down. And it's another fantastic throw. And relatively easy catch for the Dynamo. Wilson deserves it. Deserves it. 13-13.
I think that might be my favourite score celebration I've seen all year. Thank you, Dan Wilson, and thank you, Max Squires. What a way to pounce on a moment of opportunity. That was insane. I mean, 1 for 1 on the battle with Hornschmeyer. Because, of course, that was the one that was... No, sorry, I take it back. It was Wallace that was initially defending against Squires. But Dan Wilson, as I say, has been owning the scoreboard for the Space O-line. That is now 6 of 13 goals that he has been involved with. Real campaign leader. And what a leading throw. Perfection.
I like how Squires just picked it up and was like, nah, sending it. I can see the cut. I'm sending it into space.
And even Torben Hornschmeyer couldn't get there. It just kind of was like, no, that's been thrown too quickly. Running and gunning, but now Space need to unsaddle the O-line for Tiefseetaucher. They have achieved it more actively in the second half than the first, but surely Tiefseetaucher can smell that gold medal, Lorcan. They're
in charge. They're on serve. They are not done. 13 all. Maya throws low, big bid by Millard, and getting the block finally after a game of excruciating effort trying to limit Lorenzo Pavan. Gets the layout block.
Oh, you can see as that sails towards us, that disc is absolutely cooked. But huge play from Steven Millard, almost a slowdown from Pavan, maybe a little bit overconfident.
So Hulkyard, disc in hand, Denniston wants to get it on the dump and really well shut down by Seibert, so Archer comes back under. Archer looks to lead, and there's that huge layout right back! Torben Hornschmeyer! Oh, Lorcan, this game is getting hot! So Holzer picks up. There's the initial cut. Pavan just wants to go deep. Millard thrown to the floor by the fake. Hornschmeyer marked by Tate. Leading into space. Pavan comes back under. Archer with the switch. Now marking Pavan. Hulkyard patrolling the deep space. If you're wondering where Archer's player had gone. Beek back to Pavan. Hulkyard staying in that end zone. I think that's Meyer, who he's marking as a Wust Heinrich. Across to Holzer. Holzer across to Seibert. Denniston steps off to help the double team. Seibert looks to the front. Hornschmeyer still outside the end zone with the push pass, and Denniston says no! How dare you get that out of here? Deep space, right back at it. Waiting is for cowards. Hulkyard. Tate wants it deep. Now he's coming under. Hornschmeyer tries to close the gap again. And that disc was, that stall was getting high, but lovely panic throw by Hulkyard. Gets it to Denniston. Denniston goes for the inside break. It's a little bit of a floater, and Naden can't get there before Beek, the sideline, playing the clamp for her. This is going back and forth. This is the time to do it. It's 13-all, and everybody's decided now we're going to ratchet it up.
It's because it's power lines, Lorcan. I don't believe I've noticed it this late in the game. Power lines from both sides.
Holzer to Hornschmeyer. Tate flapping, flying, but empty. And there, a miscommunication. Seibert and Meyer, neither one of them can make a decision on whose disc that was. So now, Hulkyard picks it up. Naden in the dump space. Tate and Denniston come back. Denniston. Millard comes under. Hornschmeyer goes to pick him up, but just a little too slow to react. And that's the dump off, but cut's not coming too quickly. There's the throw over the top. Holzer against Hulkyard, and that's 2-0 to the German. And I think we can all agree with that timeout call for the sake of our blood pressure. This just got a bit intense.
I was going to say, Lorcan, if we carry on this point in this same manner, I don't think you're going to have any voice left for Universe Point finish. Wow.
It's definitely going, I feel it's going Universe as well, but we'll see as we can just go back through this litany of lethal plays. Brilliant layout blocks. How Denniston got this one?
Well, because she carried on with her momentum. Lorenzo Pavan went for a stutter step. He actually faked out his own thrower. So there you go. He was actually holstering himself back, moves to go and change direction. Miscommunication with Hornschmeyer. Denniston knows exactly what's going to happen. If anything, maybe her bringing that velocity all the way through is what spooks the thrower. Who knows?
Well, it certainly worked out, and these teams are going to have to put in a bit more effort to take home the gold. Who's going to come out on top? There's only one place to find out. It is 13-all Tiefseetaucher versus Deep Space.
On October 14th, 2024, the first ever World Beach Ultimate Club Championships will take place in Portugal. Follow the over 600 games as the scores update live online. And with free streaming from the Ulti TV arena, you can catch your favourite teams on your phone or from the comfort of your couch. Don't miss any of the action from Portimao.
Welcome back. Holzer on disc, 2-5. At the highest level, you go back to basics. Pavan, deep. Meyer came under. Bid from Denniston, not able to get there before Beek. A bit too much hip contact. Foul accepted. Beek just kind of letting that sting wear off before restarting the play. You can see Hornschmeyer in a bit of space. I'm sure Hulkyard wants to shut that down as soon as possible. And is it going to be another Holzer? And Beek situation, shoots for Pavan on the opposite side, chases it down, collects it. 14-13 TST.
Well, we've seen Deep Space use the visionary cross-field blade into the end zone, or sometimes the backhand roll curving in quite a few times. So Holzer taking a leaf out of the playbook of Deep Space and taking a very calculated risk to that back corner. Of course, you've got Pavan streaking into it, and it's one of the few times I think we've actually seen them have to really expansively shoot to get the goal.
Holzer has been an essential part of that offense. Even with Pavan not there, that Holzer, Beek, Pavan end zone set has been brilliant. This is probably the least assured throw that he completed all game long. And of course, going to battle against one of the best receivers on Deep Space in Hulkyard. 2-0 up by my reckoning, but I am frequently wrong. As you see here again, the way that they move, lightning quick. He's such an anchor, working alongside West Heinrich, keeping them consistent.
And he's moved around a bunch, started his playing career with Sieben Schwaben, of course, the team that was set up by Philipp Haas back in the day and co. Some Frizzly Bears Aachen, of course, plenty of Munich, some even a bit of MUC, the other variety in the UK up in Liverpool. Sugar Mix, Tiefseetaucher and many more to boot. We said he'd been playing for over half his lifespan, 18 years for the 33-year-old athlete who's had some clutch blocks.
You want to talk about clutch, this is the moment to get in the right gear as Naden disc on the near sideline. Cook goes down, brilliant inside leading pass. Cook gets into the huck position, sees Gibson, sends Gibson, and we're going to Universe. It was always going to be Universe, it always was. And also something interesting, I was talking to Remy before the game, and he said they're very confident in their Universe point experience. The MUC as a club, both sides, they've come out on top in most Universe point situations they found themselves in, not just this season, which I don't think there's actually been that many this season for them, but across their whole careers. So as the two teams get ready for the final point of the Mixed Division EUCF 2024, a very understandable timeout. We're all going to catch our breath, and we will catch you right back here. It is Tiefseetaucher 14, Deep Space 14.
Get there. Yes, he will.
The lovely did.
As we see the team circle up and try to make their selections for the sensational 7 they will trust to bring home the gold. I gotta ask, Hannah, who you think's gonna show up? Who are they gonna put out there?
Deep Space would be remiss not to put Rachel Naden out on the pitch. She has been executing all day long. Denniston, I'm sure, one of the leaders of this outfit, probably going to take that one. Jack Halkyard's been having a great game. Max Squires has been having a great game. Of course, this is a D point, so you're going to have a couple of extra. Of course, Alana Archer with a pivotal block in the second half off that big boost. On the other side of things, we've already got them. They're ready. They are here to play. Ross Heinrich, we have Pavan, we have Justin Wallace, Dennis Holzer, Torben Hunschemeyer, Saskia Beek, and Linnea Seibert. I always get confused with the EIs. Seibert.
I do as well.
Owen Kofshoff, I'm not too far off. Oh yeah, Dan Wilson, yep, please. Kate Gibson and Stephen Millard.
I think they're going out there. We need people who are going to make huge defensive plays. Millard was the first person, I think, to get a block on Pavan. Both these teams this weekend have been in Universe Point matchups before, and both times they came out on top over Reading. The gatekeepers of mixed excellence at times, and an ideal start. That disc rolling all the way back. Holzer's picking it up in the middle of his own, well, in his own end zone anyway. Looks to lead. Hornschmeyer, of course, first cut under. Needs somebody to make a move. Beek in front, but well shut down. Hornschmeyer sits it out into space, and Holzer has all the time in the world to chase it down, or all the time you'll ever get in a final. Beek throws it across. Not the most comfortable of catches for Seibert, but that's no problem for her. Back into the middle. Holzer Oostende comes to the dump position, goes down the line to Pavan. Pavan has Beek in front, and it bounces out of the hands of the nigh infallible Beek. And it looks an awful lot like the final last year. Deep Space earned the disc. Can they punch it in? Hulkyard, Denniston goes deep, continues. Hulkyard, great work by Hornschmeyer to stop at the throw with a big force. Millard can't get free of Pavan, forced to launch it all the way out there, and there was nothing happening. Brilliant defense by TST.
It's the theme of this Tiefseetaucher O-line, Lorcan. Yes, they make mistakes, but my Jove, do they grind it back with very intense person coverage. Kind of loving, kind of hating, very curious as to this deep space personnel just putting a female matching athlete way in the deep space to discourage the big shots.
The deep sea divers versus deep space, and Hornschmeyer in his own end zone. Wallace tries to stutter step away from Wilson. You got to work harder than that to get free. Wurstenreich is on the sideline. Gibson slow to close the gap. You know she likes to poach off on the deep space when available. Wurstenreich goes for the dump back.
And we suddenly have a really compressed field. Tiefseetaucher are playing vertical stack, and they're all within about 30, 40 yards of each other.
So Hornschmeyer is going to give that one back to Wurstenreich. Pavan in front. Seibert on about a 45-degree angle, and Hornschmeyer backing up. You can see the help defense, and Naden switched on to Pavan. Big bid. Kovshov can't get there in time. Holzer's going to try and take advantage while Kovshov has to try and stand up. And there's Holzer, inside out backhand. He's sending it all the way. Wallace and Wilson, who can bring it down for the gold? It bounces off the hands out the back of the end zone. Whew.
That was not the best deep shot we've seen this far in the final, Lorcan. It was spicy and it got us very excited, but it just didn't quite have it. That would have required the toe drag swag of a lifetime for Justin Wallace.
As understandably, Hulkyard taking his time, walking to the disc. That's a lonely road. So turnovers both ways, and Deep Space get a second chance. You can see the setup. Wurstenreich peeling off Gibson ever so slightly. Seibert sitting under of Denniston. Wilson comes back. Holzer slow to close the gap. Kovshov coming under, gets it. I thought he almost bobbled that. Wallace dancing on the force. Hulkyard chasing it down. Hornschmeyer tries to come across and close the gap. Back to Gibson in the middle. Gibson leads to the far sideline. Kovshov's taking this on. Significant yardage generally coming from him right now. Wallace tries to limit the swing back. It's going to have to go open side. It does. Millard wants to finish it. Sends it. Hulkyard collects. And they retain the title. Deep Space are your 2024 Mixed Division champions.
Lorcan, that was the final cherry on this Black Forest Gatto. Wow, what a game. My heart goes out to Tiefseetaucher. They did the right thing. But at the end of the game, that was just too much to be handled. Deep Space playing some really fabulous defense, engaging every player. I mean, the highlight reel from this game, that goes all the way back when to the early stages of the first half, but just rising to the charge, and such a simple set of offense. Some blades perfectly into the bread boxes to just sign off a second championship in a row for Deep Space. Love the way they connected throughout both sides of the gender match. I think probably Nikita Koshov we didn't talk quite enough about, bringing lots of experience from those GB programs of old and toe drag swag across the board.
Jack Hulkyard was incredible. We just watched quite the package. 3 goals, 2 assists, only 1 turnover. And it got D'd earlier on by Holzer when he just stood under the disc. The confidence to just stand there and collect that incredible performance, championship caliber. It's back to back for Deep Space in black. 15-14, they take the title. This was back and forth. Anytime there was a break, it was responded to with a break. 2 points was the largest lead, and it lasted about as long as it took to say it out loud. Massive credit to the Brits. Huge commiserations to the Germans. But hey, welcome to the mixed division, Tiefseetaucher. We will see you next year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see these two teams lock up in the final again. You at home need to lock up your Sunday, because we got plenty more finals coming as we have one last look at these stats. Tiefseetaucher cleaner on the holds, but earned the opportunities. That's the second time that Deep Space have taken the lead. Tiefseetaucher's season was bracketed. First game they played Deep Space. He beat them 15-13 in Padova. The last game they played, they lose 15-14 here in Oostende in the final. Deep Space game was bracketed. The first lead they took was opening with a break to go 1-0 up. The next lead they took was closing with a break to win 15-14. Incredible performance.
And you know the difference maker? Tiefseetaucher starting that one on offense. 1 yard. 1 yard closer inbounds for Justin Wallace off that Dennis Holzer big bad bomb. That's the kind of margin you need to finish a European Championship season. And what a season it has been. Our debut for this level of Tiefseetaucher, but our debut also for the new ranking almighty algorithm. And I have a suspicion, Lorcan, it is here to stay, giving us plenty of action, things to talk about, configurations throughout the season, but what a game.
And there's still more to come. You might see coming out on the pitches once these replays end, the open sides who will be locking it up. Clapham, who have looked beatable, and yet no one's been able to do it, which is, apart from Quixotes, don't want to dismiss them with the 14-12 win in the pool, and Mooncatchers, who in an incredibly intense game under the floodlights really took care of Shaq with brilliant plays, and that O-line has gone from strength to strength throughout the season. And then, of course, we have a guaranteed new winner in the women's division in the final later on today when Grut are taking on Moon Cup. So where else would you want to go? Well, there's nowhere else where you could see this kind of action, so you've got to keep it here. Ulti TV, Solid Sport, EUF. We will see you next catch time, same catch channel.